Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
Well, certainly a much drier start to the week out there. I'm your First Alert Chief Meteorologist, Wes Wyatt. Thanks for tuning into Weather Extra, staying with us here on all of our streaming platforms, First Alert Weather app, and don't forget you can find us on YouTube. Let's take you to the maps. We have a code orange air quality alert that has been issued for tomorrow, not in effect for this evening. So if you had some plans and you're very sensitive to those ground level ozone concentrations, those very sensitive groups, you're still okay this evening. And in fact, you look at the temperatures out there right now, it feels like what you see. The heat index is not off the chart, but tomorrow the air quality around Birmingham, down in northern Shelby County, those sensitive groups need to be extra careful out there. Those with asthma, heart disease, just be extra careful. Next couple of days, that's probably going to be an issue again based on, there's no major change in the pattern there for Wednesday and Thursday, so we'll probably see more of those air quality alerts pop up, not only for Birmingham, seeing those across the Atlanta area as well. Some widespread impacts there. No rain showing up for us. There are some storms closing in on the Nashville area. Back to the west over Mississippi, a couple of isolated pop-ups. That's well west of Hamilton, so I'm not concerned about impacts. Might get a few clouds that may drift into the area tonight. You can see on that hourly forecast we have dry conditions and the temperature 81 at 8 o'clock. It's going to feel like 81. It's not going to feel like 100 degrees. So that's the good thing here. Big story for us is finally a break in the heat index. And it's still hot, still July, but this time of the year we'll certainly take whatever we can get, right, as far as some heat relief goes. But the next big thing for us, some showers and scattered storms back in that forecast. I think tomorrow we could see an isolated pop-up, perhaps in the central eastern areas. We're watching the tropics. There are several systems out there. Some of the global data suggesting we might see a system that approaches Florida here over the next 5 to 7 days. We'll keep a watch on that. But we'll talk more about the tropics, more on the 7-day forecast. That's all coming up right here on First Alert Weather Extra. Wildfires happening around the world. We're going to take you to Greece and a landslide in India. We got some video to show you there, a story to show you. Also, we're going to update you on that tornado that impacted North Carolina. We've seen a lot of impacts, a lot of stories about that as well. More to come as we can roll on right here. You are watching First Alert Weather Extra.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Good Day, Alabama.
A new morning comes with preparing right, because while you slept, news broke.
We have new information from that breaking news that happened this morning.
While you head out, the storm we gave you the first alert for is on its way in. And as the key turns the ignition, your shorter route to work is being found.
Avoid 459 southbound completely because of a crash.
A new morning means everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama, always on your side.
The First Alert traffic you need to get you there safe and on time. Tomorrow morning, everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama.
You're late, out the door, and on the go. Don't worry.
Good Day, Alabama continues all morning long.
And wherever you watch, this is what you need to know right now.
More reporters on the streets with more hours of news when you need it. Everything you need for a good day is on Good Day Alabama. Knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Tens of millions of Americans are struggling to stay cool during this unrelenting summer heat. Already more than 5,000 heat records have been broken or tied in the U.S. just in the last 30 days alone. And as Cole Higgins reports, there is no relief just yet, with above average temperatures expected into August.
More than 35 million people are under heat alerts Monday across the U.S. after more than 35 heat-related records were broken on Sunday alone, according to the National Weather Service.
Feels like an oven.
Las Vegas shattering its record with a temperature of 116 degrees. In Death Valley, California, a daily record-breaking 128 degrees.
I don't like the heat, but it's something that you have to deal with living in Arizona.
It's been so hot in parts of Arizona that doctors in Maricopa County are seeing a spike in patients burned by just falling on the ground.
The pavement is so hot that it only takes a fraction of a second to get a pretty deep burn.
Phoenix fire crews inundated with calls to help people who can't escape the heat and the elderly.
Put some of our IVs on ice or cool our IVs so we can cool that internal temperature quicker for those individuals.
The heat wave set to impact even more Americans this week from the Midwest to the East Coast. It's even affecting ocean temperatures and threatening coral reefs.
Parts of the Caribbean like Belize are already bleaching and bleaching pretty severely. And Florida is where Belize was about a month ago.
South Florida's abnormally warm water putting some corals there at risk of extinction. Scientists fear without coral, Florida could lose a natural defense system that helps protect the coastlines from waves and flooding during hurricanes. I'm Cole Higgins reporting.
And you know, we talk a lot here on Weather Extra about how rising sea surface temperatures could have detrimental impacts to coral across the globe. CNN meteorologist Derek Van Dam takes a further look at the vulnerable coral in Florida.
A heat wave off the coast of Florida is sending water temperatures to unprecedented highs. While that's not a problem for some swimmers, it is a major concern for coral reefs. Corals thrive with ocean temperatures in the mid-80s, but lately they have been soaring into the 90s.
Where in the world are they measuring these off-the-chart record ocean temperatures?
Including this NOAA sensor one research scientist showed me near Miami. It's broken its daily record the past 4 days in a row. South Florida's abnormally warm water could put area corals on the verge of extinction.
You can tell right now it's producing.
Dr. Andrew Baker is a professor of marine biology and ecology at the University of Miami's Rosenstiel School.
The marine heat wave is more or less throughout the Caribbean at this point. Certain parts of the Caribbean, like Belize, are already bleaching and bleaching pretty severely. And Florida is where Belize was about a month ago.
This is a healthy brown piece of coral. If it was to bleach, it would turn all white and could potentially die. That is what scientists are concerned about if this marine heat wave continues to build.
Losing coral could be costly. Coral reefs generate billions of dollars for Florida's economy through activities like fishing and tourism, which wouldn't be possible without reefs to protect the species that rely on them.
We've been working for several years on ways to make corals more thermally tolerant.
Engineering coral that can withstand even a 5-degree temperature increase in our oceans will mitigate the effects of stronger marine heat waves that are expected in the future. Corals are one of the most sensitive ecosystems to the effects of climate change. Without them, we could lose a natural defense system as healthy corals help protect our coastlines during hurricanes.
And so reef restoration efforts that are ongoing right now are really taking steps to plan for climate change, to try to make sure that we restore reefs to be suitable for a future environment and not the victims of it.
Ken Niedermeyer is the technical director at Reef Renewal USA. He works to restore coral reefs in the Florida Keys and is hopeful about the future.
There are corals that can live in hotter water. We just have to find them and try to repopulate with them.
After 1 year, Dr. Baker's research is hitting its initial milestones, already seeing results with corals surviving in slightly warmer temperatures.
We've had a few pilot experiments out there on the reefs that we've manipulated to try to make corals more thermally tolerant, and this will be a natural test of that.
Not ready to throw the towel in just yet. Optimism amid record-breaking weather patterns with no immediate signs of cooling off. Derek Van Dam, CNN, Miami.
That's some really encouraging work they're doing down there. Meanwhile, deadly extreme heat is on the rise in national parks across the country. Park officials say since June 1st, more people are suspected to die from heat-related causes in national parks than in an average year. There have been 5 heat-related deaths so far this year, which does not include the deadliest month for heat in the park, typically August. All of this year's suspected heat-related deaths took place in just 3 national parks: Grand Canyon, Death Valley, and Big Bend. These 3 parks are also responsible for more than half of the 68 heat-related deaths reported by the Park Service since 2007. Well, in today's Thanks, I Hate It news, we have a first alert that not only temperatures, but tick season is heating up. Experts say there are now more ticks than ever before, and they're blaming climate change as well as an increase of white-tailed deer in densely populated areas. Some species of ticks carry diseases that can be life-threatening, including Lyme disease. If you get bit, remove the tick by its head with tweezers and kill it with hand sanitizer or alcohol. Moving on from that video, meanwhile, in the Mediterranean, Greece continues to deal with above average temperatures, and this could be the longest heat wave in the country's history. Raging wildfires on the Greek island of Rhodes are leading to more evacuations. Extreme heat and strong winds are fueling the flames, trapping thousands of tourists and locals. 19,000 people were evacuated over the weekend as flames reached coastal resorts. Greek authorities say no major injuries have been reported. Temperatures in Athens this summer alone could possibly break the city's all-time record, which was set in June of 2007, a high temperature of 113 degrees Fahrenheit. And summer tourists are certainly feeling the heat.
It's difficult. We just keep on drinking water. We try not to stay too much in the sun.
Greece has a fantastic temperature in summer for, summer living, I guess. This might be a little bit on the extreme, but I think we can cope.
Well, farther south, the death toll from a devastating landslide in the Indian town of Raigad has now risen to at least 68 people. That's according to CNN affiliate CNN News 18. This number includes the 57 people who are still missing but haven't been declared dead. Authorities called off search and rescue operations on Sunday, 4 days after the landslide happened. The disaster was triggered by heavy rains last week. The Indian Met Department has issued more warnings of flooding rains later on this week. District officials have, as a result, ordered the closure of schools and colleges. Well, you may recall a tornado hit North Carolina last Wednesday. It was the first EF3 tornado to hit the region since 2011. The tornado injured 16 people and damaged homes and businesses, including the Pfizer plant. A contractor captured dramatic video of the tornado hitting the Pfizer plant on his dash camera. It is one of the largest facilities manufacturing sterile injectable drugs in the world, supplying more than a quarter of such medications used in U.S. hospitals. Now, dramatic dash cam footage demonstrates how lucky it was that no one was killed or critically injured. Carly Haynes has the story.
The inside of an EF3 tornado.
You learn to respect the weather.
Marvin Hicks captured this on dash cam video. The camera installed by his company for insurance purposes that same morning.
2 hours after he put it in, the tornado hit.
Hicks didn't see the video until he got home to check the footage. He wasn't in his car at the time. He was doing contractor work inside Pfizer's Rocky Mount plant, which now looks like this.
If I hadn't looked at my phone and just talked to him and saw that it was a tornado warning, I probably would have stayed in my shop.
Hicks got a WRAL weather alert inside the building, then took cover in a hallway with colleagues. He stayed there for nearly half an hour.
If we hadn't have gone, a lot more people would have got hurt from the frying debris.
When he left, he saw the damage. Roofs gone, tiles missing, insulation everywhere, and dozens of vehicles damaged. Hicks said the part of the building that handles products stored and ready to be shipped was hit the hardest.
Just to think how quick something like that can happen. A storm so quick. The storm only lasted seconds, but it does months and months of repair, so it's scary.
Wow, well, that dash cam video certainly proved vital. Coming up on First Alert Weather Extra, we check back in with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt for an update on the tropics and looking ahead to when we maybe could see some storms in this hot and dry forecast. And I'll take it beyond the 7-day all the way into August. We'll be right back.
We heard the first alert. Mom says we have to go. She says I don't have time to grab any more toys.
Need to be in your tornado safe place. Get there right now as you have.
We have to get to our safe place because sometimes when you hear the siren, it's too late. That's why she says knowing first is everything.
We know weather can be grab the umbrella or jogging shoes, but it's so much more. It's a science, an art, led by knowledge and experience.
And no one has more of that than a WBRC First Alert weather team.
Warning you first with more hours committed to you. And the first forecast built to see weeks, days, and even minutes ahead, right down to where you live. From the team you trust on your favorite screen.
Doing the weather better. The WBRC First Alert weather team always on your side.
The First Alert is more than a warning. It's a promise. A promise to get you out of harm's way with plenty of time to spare. 4 walls and a roof can be replaced. Lives can't. That's why knowing first is everything. First Alert weather.
Well, a live look out there right now. We're enjoying some sunshine at 86 degrees, and it feels like 86 degrees. Live look from Montevallo, Tuscaloosa 89, Anniston at 89 degrees. We saw highs in the low 90s, and we'll get there again tomorrow. Temperatures very seasonal for this time of the year. Tonight we stay dry, maybe a few clouds moving through off of some storms. We've been tracking some storms into Tennessee. That's all going to stay north of us, though. No worries. Maybe a little bit of fog around tomorrow morning as we tumble into the mid-60s, especially over East Alabama. And then you can see by lunchtime tomorrow, back to near 90 degrees. Another toasty day again. Air quality alert for Jefferson and Shelby counties. That will be in effect for tomorrow. Air quality alert, and we'll probably see another one of those pop up for Wednesday and Thursday. Now, looking at the possibility of any rainfall, there are some indications, high resolution data saying, hey, we might see a parcel of air that may try to rise and form into a storm, so we'll need to watch out for that possibility late in the day tomorrow. So we kept a small 10% chance of rain in there. In fact, I can't rule out an isolated shower or two through the rest of the week. We'll see those afternoon rain chances, though, going up by Friday and also into Saturday. In the tropics, we're watching a couple disturbances here, and a lot of times when you start to see our forecast trend hot and dry here in Alabama, you better pay close attention to what's happening in the tropics, because typically we start to see things heat up. And often you see a correlation in those patterns here across the region, but there's a system that's a disturbance. It's poorly organized. There's Bermuda there. This is way out in the Atlantic. This is well east of the Bahamas. But over the next 5 days, as this moves towards the west, it could become better organized. And some of the global data is latching on to the possibility of maybe a system trying to become better organized and move closer to Florida over the next 5 to 7 days. So we will need to monitor. Maybe the data is telling us something here. We need to keep an eye on this particular system. And then there's another disturbance, and we have enough data. This is being investigated. That's why it's called Invest 95. We already investigated this system here, and as it moves to the west direction, we do have some model data that has been run on this. We have enough data to be able to generate what we call the spaghetti models. You can see the different scenarios, and it takes this towards the west direction, and we've seen that multiple times this season with these tropical systems. So given the pattern so far this season, Wouldn't surprise me at all if this just stays west, and it may struggle to develop here as it moves off to the west direction. But at this point, I'm not worried about impacts in the Gulf region. We'll keep an eye on it. If it looks like it's going to make a turn or become better organized, we will certainly let you know. But watching towards the end of the week, certainly the forecast you can see here, we have trended much drier compared to last week. The big story here, a gradual buildup in that heat, afternoon storms coming back later in the week, and of course that air quality alert that we talked about tomorrow for Jefferson and Shelby counties. But the temperature, you notice, we see mid-90s, and then by Sunday and Monday showing 98 degrees. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, we were talking about this forecast, and you were working on those forecast numbers going into next week, and it just kept getting hotter and hotter. What are we seeing beyond the 7-day forecast?
Well, like you said, Wes, it just looks like those temperatures just keep on climbing up the stairs. When I was doing my forecast earlier, I'm like, kept looking, I'm like, any rain to cool us off? It doesn't look super promising in the days ahead. Now, that's not to say we couldn't see a few showers and storms. We know how it works here in Alabama. If that humidity comes back and takes the reins, then anything's on the table again in terms of storm chances. But right now, 6 to 10 days, it does look like a good portion of the U.S., including the South, out west, looking at the potential of above average temperatures. And yes, that does include us here in Alabama. And we could be seeing well above average temperatures. Now, this is just one model I'm showing you here. It's not the gospel. This is our American model showing us past this weekend what we could see going into next week. Now, this model historically runs hot, so you see it spitting out mid 100s. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, but sometimes I look at this and I'm like, okay, shave about 5 degrees off of that. And maybe we could see triple digit heat outside of factoring in the heat index, because it's still looking fairly dry. Yes, it's going to eventually get a little bit more humid this weekend, but maybe not enough to put us in that dangerous heat territory, possibly looking at a dry heat. We'll keep an eye on things, but definitely looking at a streak of above average temperatures going into next week. And you'll remember that morning last week when we just did not cool down overnight. I think our low temperature that morning was in the 80s. So it does look like we could be still seeing some warmer than average temperatures right now. Tonight it's going to be pretty nice because we've had that little front come through giving us some drier air, but I think generally showing above average morning lows as well. So what about the precipitation outlook? Well, it does show that a good portion of Alabama could be seen below average precipitation over the next 6 to 10 days from now. So if we are indeed in a hot and relatively dry pattern, that could help to suppress rain chances. But Wes was mentioning too, we're also keeping an eye on the tropics, those two disturbances out in the Atlantic that are making their way west. So we'll have to keep an eye on those. Here we are on the first day of August. Hard to believe this is next Tuesday, showing generally across the central portions of Alabama the possibility of a few storms around. But you'll notice here this flow in the mid-levels. It almost looks like a ridge. That is a ridge of high pressure that's going to be over a good portion of the South Great Plains. So, you know, we could end up being in a position where on the northeast periphery of that ridge and possibly getting that northwest flow in place that could bring a few storms, but it's not a guarantee. So we maybe could see a couple of disturbances, but generally if that ridge is winning out, that can bring some hot, dry conditions. And it really looks like that ridge maybe by the middle of next week could really be kicking into high gear. So we'll watch to see if we're on the periphery of it for that northwest flow pattern that can be so pesky. But remember, what I'm showing you here is not the gospel. It is one run of a model. This model runs 4 times a day, and this is called deterministic data. So this can and will change. Remember, nothing has even formed in the Atlantic yet. So we take this with a grain of salt, but this is why the National Hurricane Center has outlined an area along the southeast coast of the U.S. that it's going to be one to watch as we go into later next week. So this is showing, hey, maybe a developing tropical system in the western Atlantic that maybe could bring impacts somewhere along the southeast coast. Now, of course, we would be well away from that, but it's certainly something to keep our eye on. We'll be watching that in the days ahead. But for now, it looks like for us going into August, relatively hot and dry, maybe as we get a few days into the month, seeing the transition back to a better chance of showers and storms in the forecast. But before that happens, it looks like we've got a stretch of hot and mainly dry days here to get through first. But in the meantime, before we wrap up Weather Extra this evening, it's a story we've been following all around the Crestline area for the past week. In case you missed it, the elusive Billy the Goat is back with his owner after his capture over the weekend. Billy was finally caught for good Sunday morning at the Levite Jewish Community Center. His owner says he jumped out of the vehicle while being transported. Billy is now back home in Calera, where his owner promises he's in good hands and secure hands as well. And I just gotta say, you know, as always, you'll always hear how bitter I am that the Good Day crew, they get good food, they get animals to come in, they get great guests, and then they got Billy the Goat to come in. So just a little bitter, guys. I saw the pictures they were posting on social media today. So jealous. I want to meet Billy too. So Billy, if you're watching, hit me up, buddy. Just don't leave home. I'll come visit you. But you can catch us here tonight for an update on your forecast on First at 9 with Chief Meteorologist Wes Wyatt. And join us here on Weather Extra every weeknight at 6:30 on your favorite streaming platform. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Have a safe and happy Monday evening.